Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on the Panda channel. We're going to do something different this week. We have the Resident Evil 9 Requiem announcement that just came out more recently, and there's a lot of speculation, a lot of discussion. As everybody knows on this channel, I'm a super big fan when it comes to Resident Evil. It's one of my favorite franchises. So why not take a little bit of the time to discuss the announcement, look through the trailer breakdown, and maybe talk about some theories that I have that I think would be very interesting for this particular game. So sit back, relax. Let's go ahead and switch on over to the discussion points. I'll be in the small video here, and we'll stop at different points to talk about some of the things I found looking through this trailer a kabillion times, and maybe some things we can further speculate as more stuff comes out. So it's fun. Let's take a watch. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of starting and stopping. So if you haven't already, so obviously the trailer opens up. It shows the Federal Bureau of Investigation building, which I believe some folks in the community and social media pointed out that this is a real type of building with some exaggerations, which Capcom always tends to do in California. I don't think that bears any relevance, but we'll continue moving forward. But that's what it kind of looks like.
Sir.
So we have this main guy here. We don't know his name, and it seems like everybody in in the office respects him, so he must be the superintendent or probably the leading special agent that kind of assigns all the agents there at FBI on that location, as well as any of the intelligence analysts. So just in case you're familiar, FBI kind of statures that they have special agents that go in the field. They have intelligence or technical analysts that you'll hear here in a minute that work in the office to provide that information generally to those in the field. But also they do a lot of kind of, work from the office itself. They rarely go in the field. So there's definitely some things here. We don't know the name of his man. The only time in Resident Evil history the FBI was involved was a man named Jack Hamilton in the events of Resident Evil 2, where he was actually finding out if Chief Irons was a dirty cop, which he did, sending it via fax in the events of Resident Evil 2 itself, that Claire finds as a fax in the STARS office. That is the only thing that have found so far with the FBI being involved. There might be some stuff in some of the non-mainline games like Dark Side, Dark Lines, or anything like that. But so far it's been very minimal as far as the FBI being part of things. So let's move forward. It would be really nice to know if this is Jack Hamilton. That would be a nice callback to original events of Resident Evil 2, why they're working through Raccoon City stuff, but we'll find out. All right. Let that play a little longer too. Just to point out, I did see some folks actually pointing out the case ID number here at the top that's pending. There's a fourth victim here, and they of course cut it before it says it's suggests the deceased is part of a series of blank. Obviously it's unidentified disease, so they haven't figured out what the disease is after finding these crime scenes. But there is a theory that part of the setting of this will take place in Portland, based on this case ID, which if we pop on over to this is actually public information, and I'll actually include it in Wiki, where this same exact case number is actually related to a Federal Bureau of Investigation case in 2000 from Portland, Oregon. Not going to get into the details. There's even some stuff that's redacted, But essentially, this particular case was pointing to bioterrorism or counterterrorism, from the office working together. So there is a case that this could be related to Portland, Oregon, but we'll have to find out as we continue forward. There's also a map that's being hung around in the offices. Seems to point with that. I thought a lot of the missing persons reports very much were interesting, because I thought they were kind of close to the victims that I saw in the missing reports in Dulvey in the events of Resident Evil 7, in the basement of the guest house. There's some similarities, not really anything that I can say that definitively points to Dulvey, but there are some events that will. We'll talk about that. So we'll keep moving.
Grace! Grace! Grace Ashcroft.
Yes?
So like I mentioned, the maps here, we have the missing persons right there, but it could be related to that case. The other thing I want to point out too, Grace Ashcroft, I think that's really her name. I don't really think that we're going to get some poll, even though she looks really close to Rose. One of the things that I did find interesting though is they haven't confirmed who the voice actress and voice actors are. I'm sure that's a clue, but basically I don't know if I'd give the writers that much of a credit. I don't think this is a secret Rose Winters working as Ashlyn Ashcroft or Grace Ashcroft, so I'm not going to go that far, but knowing this, she's very much a workaholic, known for the Chinese food that we saw there, stretching, and obviously very, very tired, as she pretty dedicated to her work. So
My office.
Oh, coming. If this is about the report you asked for yesterday, it'll be ready in 3. No, 2 days, tops.
Put a hold on that for now. We found another body. One that exhibits the same pathology as the others we've been investigating. Now, I need a good technical analyst on this.
Okay.
I need your eyes on the crime scene. The Renwood Hotel. I know that's where your mother was murdered. Alyssa died 8 years ago.
all right, let's talk about this. This is going to take up a good portion of it. So Alyssa Ashcroft was obviously her mother. She was part of the Raccoon City incident. She was an investigative reporter. She is part of the Outbreak series, File 1 and 2. And basically the events of what she does is very interesting. Alyssa was an investigative reporter, went into a lot of dangerous places, which actually shockingly is what kind of brought her at the Renwood Hotel incident. She was part of Raccoon City. She was investigating kind of the private hospital in the Arklay Mountains that was being run by Dorothy and Al Lester. And there was even times where Alyssa's memories were suppressed by both Lesters after her friend Kurt died by the Lesters. They apparently suppressed her memories in cahoots with Greg Mueller. And obviously there's a lot of information there you can kind of follow up through. But long story short, she wrote after all those different investigations that she did. She did survive the Raccoon City incident and did write an expose for Resident Evil, or for Raccoon City, called the Raccoon City Trials, basically for the umbrella BOWs on what that was. The trials basically lasted all the way till 2004, and in the events of 2016 of RE7, at the time, that was also mentioned a bit that from the wiki and a few other things that Grace was kind of born and she was taking care of her at the time. The problem is we don't know how many events other than so when she wrote the Dolby Daily article in Resident Evil 7, that was in 2016. So she was associated and part of Dolby Daily. Maybe she was contracted or not, but we do know that she was there. Now, this is signifying that her death happened in the Renwood Hotel. Part of the problem is nobody knows where the Renwood Hotel is. It looks very abandoned. And then they follow up with a Resident Evil kind of, remnants from the bombs. I think it's a little bit of a red herring. It's kind of a little bit of deception direction. I think the Renwood Hotel, in my opinion, is either definitely going to be in a different location than Raccoon City, because everything was bombed and destroyed kind of in Raccoon City. So Renwood Hotel has got to be somewhere. My theory is with the art direction, and there's a lot of things that are going on with this, is that Dolby or the events of Resident Evil 7 will pop in. I'm almost willing to bet that Renwood could possibly be in the related area. However, because of the case file, because of the maps of what they're looking into, it does point a bit more to Oregon, Portland, Oregon specifically. But I'd like to think that with some of the missing persons reports that are very similar in the images, that it looks very similar to like it could be in Dolby. So there's no telling. The technical analyst he's recommending is interesting because technical analysts are usually those that work on the home front or the office front, not usually being sent out in the field. So usually that means that this particular incidents or number of incidents is starting to ramp up. All of their secret agents are probably going all over the place, and now they're kind of stretched a bit thin. But the only thing we know is that the Renwood Hotel is the scene. Obviously, with that file, obviously it's implied here is the place where Alyssa Ashcroft was murdered. And there's going to be probably a good portion of that where that's going to take place that I don't think is close to Raccoon City. I think the events of this will bring Grace and others maybe to Raccoon City. Most likely in underground stuff, but we'll figure that out in a bit. This cloaked figure, many people are saying it's Leon, are joking because that it's Duke. It's really not, but there's no telling who that could be. The model of the nose and stuff is very similar to a lot of the different characters in there, so it really could be anybody. They're going to show this. They're going to show the cloaked figure. They're going to show a silhouette of two men or two people, and then the room 204, which I haven't really found anything related to, and then of course Grace being tied up and stuck upside down, looks like with chemicals and things, transfusion, which we don't really know much about. So we'll keep moving forward. There's a bunch of different voices we'll just kind of summarize towards the end, but it should be very interesting.
Perhaps it's time for you to face the past. Grace.
What is this? Hey! Help!
So the other thing that points me a bit more to Dolby as well being involved, these the crown molding and stuff that we're seeing at this hotel, this looks very Louisiana to me. Long curtains like this, things are hanging, crown molding and stuff like that. Obviously that's a very thin thing to associate with. A lot of hotels look that way, even in Europe and other places, but it's something that's a bit different that makes it a little bit more unique.
Stay close.
These missing people, And then this is also a little hint of Portland, Oregon, most
I know
likely.
now that you're the one that I've been searching for. The special one. The chosen one. Miss Ashcroft.
Investigating all these strange deaths, huh?
We need to keep our voices down.
Have you seen the same shit I've seen?
Please know that you are my hope.
Everyone's gone.
I think this is part of this is going to be in Raccoon City. I think this is going to be more of an underground thing. Obviously, we're seeing this gentleman here and then this gentleman as well. We'll just back up here in just a second.
Stay away from that!
Obviously, that's going to be a different person. He's clean shaven, he's bigger built, and he's being suffocated from the mysterious figure there. A lot of people are attributing it, saying that's Leon. I don't know. It's hard to definitively tell. This lady here, it's hard to say. We can see a silhouette of hair. We can see kind of a dress that's defying gravity with long nails there. Again, same crown molding, old looking, very different architecture in comparison with a statue behind there. It's kind of freaky. We do know that she has a form of shackles. I would say more than jewelry. I'd say that's pretty confirmed. This could be a Lisa Trevor that's evolved. This could be more than likely, if I had to guess based on history, this might be an Alyssa Ashcroft that's been reanimated through different types of experiments where she wasn't really murdered. And who knows, Grace may have had some memory kind of loss with it too. So anyway, we'll summarize my theories here in just a minute. We do have a bunch of different voices here that we haven't confirmed that is talking. So it sounds like we'll have kind of a group mercenary kind of going into a new place kind of effect. And I love the art direction is all about kind of Resident Evil 7. I just love that dirty aesthetic. I think it just makes the infectious nature of, you know, Raccoon City, Umbrella, and Infections even cooler. All right, I love this. So, what are my theories? To summarize, I think we're going to have I would be very surprised if we didn't have a first-person view mode. It'd be really nice if they did do a multiple campaign with a first and a third person. I know it's been tagged on Steam with some stuff. I don't know if that's exactly true. I think you can always tag games a little bit different too. So who knows what that's about. I think it'll kind of stick to a very simple art direction synthetic of it being ugly, dirty, nasty like this, which is what I love, which is what Resident Evil 7 did really well at, Biohazard. So I think we'll get a first-person view mode for sure. I don't know about the multiple campaigns. They tried it in 6. 6 did not go very well. I don't know if that, for Capcom, that's going to be something they're going to try. I think they might try to be a bit more focused, but that's what I would hope they would do. But there's no telling. They experiment sometimes, Capcom does. I'm okay with both. I mean, Village did come out with that third-person view mode, and I think it was just as effective. And who knows, they probably use that like they do in previous editions of games. They'll experiment, they'll release it as a DLC, which they did in this case for the Winter's expansion. So it's definitely possible they're going to use the same tech so you can pop around. I think we're going to get two main kind of areas, though. I think Grace is going to go to Wrenwood Hotel. I think she's going to kind of go in that first-person view mode, find out a bit more about her mother. My guess is because her mother experienced kind of missing memories and stuff, there's going to be some similarities there. I think we'll find that Grace has a bit of that as well. And that'll be kind of one of those twists that'll usually happen. We'll definitely have some infected zombies, maybe some old ones too that are still living. Because obviously that place looked very abandoned. And then I think we'll have a revisitation, or we'll have a big implication of going back to Raccoon City, specifically related to either Umbrella or maybe the remnants of. I don't know why they would go back to the RPD. I don't think they would, unless Irons had a laboratory underneath a bit more. But I think there's going to be some revisitation with Raccoon City specifically for underground facilities of Umbrella to kind of connect everything together, and maybe we'll see some new people. I don't know if we'll get as much of the mainline like characters back. Maybe we'll get some references to Leon, maybe to some Jill. I don't think they're going to make a showing though. I think this will be very similar to how stuff was handled in the Resident Evil 7, where we've got a lot of references and connections either through, messages and things. I could be way wrong here. Obviously, there's not a lot to go on here. I'd like to think that Chris and Leon and Jill would all come back. Maybe even Rebecca, because she's one of my faves. But I don't know if we'll get that. I think we'll get kind of this new, passing of the torch a little bit, because Grace seems younger. She seems like she's very intelligent as an analyst, and maybe she'll carry on the investigative kind of detectiveness reporting that her mother does, but in the way of the FBI, and maybe we'll see that more. I'd like to think that Dolby will become more involved with this, but it does look like there's some, little hints there for Portland, Oregon, that seem a bit obvious that these guys haven't, deliberately laid down. So with the raining environment like that, I've been to Portland. Of course, every major city can look that way, but I think maybe it could, be more or less kind of like that. I'd like to think we go back to Louisiana, to Dolby in some way, shape, or form, but there's no telling. I'd like to see a bit more of also like the Winters kind of involvement with it, but that might be too much. And with Alyssa, though, she's been involved with both Resident Evil Mainline and Resident Evil 7 Dolby stuff, even just with that simple article. So maybe we'll get a little bit of both. But that's my theory so far. If you're here, thanks for, chilling with me on talking about theories about this. And I'll catch you in the next one. And I'll keep doing these if we get more announcements, just because I just find them fun. That we can always talk about Resident Evil and the new Requiem that's coming out. So stay tuned.